Chris Pine, Jessica Chastain, Dakota Fanning, and Eva Mendes all started their acting career on which TV show? This is the audience question for Are You Quizzing Me's 144th episode. Cue the music. Welcome to Are You Quizzing Me? I am Vineet Nair with my co-host Aditya Kashyap. This is a quizzing trivia podcast show. Join us as we dive deep into history, science, pop culture, and so much more. Let's get quizzing. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 144. The question I asked before the music sting was the audience question, which I will answer at the end of today's episode. Before we get to the meat of the quizzing for this episode, let's find out who answered the social media audience question, or SMAC, first and rightly on our social media. So, Aditya, why don't you tell us who answered the SMAC 143?
SMAC 143 was, as usual, a visual question. It was a picture from the middle of the 20th century with a face blurred, and the question was, which important historical figure's last known image is this? And it was first answered by, within a few seconds, Dhanraj Nayak. So, good job, Dhanraj. Thank you so much for answering SMAC 143.
Congratulations. And so, let's now move on to the quizzing. And I think it's my turn to start off this time. So, my question, Aditya. In 1806, Napoleon sought to undermine British trade through a continental embargo during the Napoleonic Wars. This policy had some unintended consequences, including a sharp rise in cocoa prices, which severely affected chocolate makers in the Piedmont region. To cope with the shortage, confectioners in Turin began blending eggs into chocolate to extend limited supplies, creating a rich paste that came to be known as gianduja. I hope I'm not murdering the pronunciation. More than 100 years later, chocolate once again became scarce in Europe as a wartime commodity due to rationing during World War II. In 1946, an Italian pastry chef, Pietro, revisited the solution and developed pasta gianduja. A few years later, he modified the formula, and in 1964, Pietro's son Y refined the recipe further, rebranding it as Z, and eventually rose to become Italy's wealthiest individual. I want you to identify X, Y, and Z. X being the ingredient which was mixed into chocolate to stretch the supplies, Y being Pietro's son, and Z being a brand.
So, gianduja, I think that's how it's pronounced, is hazelnut, I know that. With the chocolate.
Okay.
I'm assuming the final product should be Ferrero Rocher, which means I have to figure out the person in between, right, who came up with it.
Okay, so I'll give you hazelnut, but it's not Ferrero Rocher.
Oh, okay. Went to the most obvious hazelnut chocolate option.
But you are in the right ballpark. You're sniffing around the answer.
Sorry, give me the name of the person again. I know I'm supposed to recognize the son's.
Pietro. Yes, Pietro's son
is who I have to. Yeah.
A last name will suffice, obviously. I don't expect you to get the full name, but being one of the wealthiest people in the world, you may have heard his first name as well. Italy's richest person. He's estimated at $39 to $40 billion currently.
Italy's richest. It is an Italian chocolate brand. Yes. I know Nestle is French. No, I don't know any other brand. I thought Ferrero Rocher was Italian, if I'm not wrong, but if that's sorted, there are...
Ferrero Rocher is Italian, and you are in the right family, let's just put it that way.
Oh, is it Ferrero is some other brand under Ferrero Rocher? There's a white color one, Raffaello or something it's called.
No.
Oh, then it could be, if not for a chocolate, there could be Nutella. That's the other hazelnut chocolate thing.
Very good. It is Nutella.
Okay. Nice.
Okay, so X is hazelnuts, Z is Nutella. Who is Y? Give me a last name. That will be enough.
It's still going back to Ferrero only, as if like that is the name.
It is Ferrero. It is Michel Ferrero.
Oh, right, fair enough.
Michel as in Michael Ferrero, so they call him Michel. So it's a guy. So anyway, this question, you cracked it in very short order. The continental blockade of 1806 under Napoleon restricted British imports, causing cocoa shortages in Europe, including Piedmont, Turin. where chocolatiers mixed abundant local hazelnuts into chocolate to create. You have, I think, the correct pronunciation.
It's Gianduja.
Okay, it's Gianduja paste. During World War II rationing, Pietro Ferrero in 1946 made pasta Gianduja, which was a solid loaf form. He refined it to the spreadable super crema in 1949-1951, and his son Michel tweaked it in 1964, renaming it Nutella for global marketing. Michel Ferrero became Italy's richest man in 2008, overtaking Silvio Berlusconi as per Forbes, and estimates vary slightly, but is around 39 to 40 billion currently. So, very good crack, very quick crack.
It's just because of the Gianduja, which I have, I don't know when I must have encountered, probably when I was in Italy. I think I throw around these places I've traveled to a lot. Just randomly. I'm like,
no, at some point, you should kind of give us a list of which countries you've traveled to so I can make questions from those you've not gone to.
I'm yet to enter 2 continents. I have not done South America or Africa. Not counting Antarctica, of course. So yeah, 2 massive continents remaining. Sorry, this is completely unrelated, but it's surprising to me how many people don't realize which is the continent with the most countries. This is completely random. But which continent has the most countries?
Okay, I've never thought of that. I would hazard a guess to Africa.
Fantastic, yes. Africa has the most countries. Actually, sorry, you know what? A lot of people are able to guess that. The other side of the flip side of it is actually what people struggle with. Which continent has the fewest countries?
I would think Oceania.
No, Oceania is number 2 or number 2 from the bottom. So there's one more country which has fewer.
Okay, then it'd be North America. It'll be North America.
North America is number 3 on that list. So there is one continent which is fewer than North America.
Wait, what? Antarctica? You're talking about Antarctica?
Not counting Antarctica. Counting Antarctica.
Wait, what? Wait, Oceania has very few countries, right? There's the few Pacific countries and then Australia and New Zealand.
14 countries in Oceania, including, of course, the biggest one, Australia, the ones in New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Palau Islands, Samoa, quite a few of them. No.
Is it Asia by any chance?
Asia, after Africa, Asia is the second highest number of countries.
Yeah, but okay, so we're left with South America and Europe now.
So which one is it?
Oh, God. I'd say very close, both of them. South America or Europe.
Not even close. No,
really? Okay. So then I'll go with South America. No, but wait. Central America also is included in that. That has quite a lot of countries. So then we'll go with Europe.
Well, you should have trusted your first instinct. And that is probably why there is this confusion. Because Central America, by most qualifications, is included in North America, not in South America.
Okay.
Yeah. So the continent with the fewest countries is South America.
South America. Very counterintuitive.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because again, by landmass, it also is big. I mean, all of them are pretty big. But yeah, South America seems like it has a lot. It's the Central America which adds a lot to North America.
Yeah.
And the reason I know this is because there is an Instagram page called the Drop a Pin Show. And it's this bald guy with a fantastic beard. Reminds me of your beard. He is, I think it's in his office that he's going up to people and asking mostly geography related questions.
Oh, I've seen this guy. I have seen this guy. Yes. Yeah.
And he has this very specific way of, he asks the people question like, oh, which is the continent of the fewest countries? And they'll be like, whatever, Oceania. And he'll go, no.
It's yeah, no, I know. I've seen this guy.
So I saw this and I knew it because, again, this has been an obsession of mine, just remembering countries and capitals for a very long time. So I knew that it was South America. What was surprising to me was that most people didn't know. Just like you, I think that Central America thing throws people off because they assume that North America has only 3 countries. So yeah. But just a very random side trivia. The continent with fewest countries is South America, not counting Antarctica, of course.
Very nice. But
the actual trivia, I am going to do a straight segue, and this is going to be another, I guess, pop culture recommendation because I'm going to talk about a chocolate. And this is the brand Tony Chocolonely. Have you heard of Tony Chocolonely, Vineet?
Tony Chocolonely? No.
Tony Chocolonely is started in Europe. It has had a pretty viral marketing campaign. They base it off of entirely fair trade agreements and, pointing out the inequity and the slave labor, the child labor that is involved in the growing of chocolate. And most of this is centered in Africa. for anybody who was not aware. So they made it a big part of the brand, the fact that they're going to do it ethically, and they put it all their information is online on their website, and they challenge people to come and look at them and force them to do better. It's quite a great company in terms of how they deal with their ethics, and that is actually what got them a massive spotlight and limelight, and people also love the taste of the chocolate. The reason I also know this is because, of course, I saw this online somewhere and I was like, oh, this sounds very impressive. And I saw it in a store in Mumbai and I was like, oh, I got to try it. The chocolate is genuinely very good. It is expensive, but it tastes great. Now, here is the question for you. Tony Chocolonely focuses on the fact that there is a lot of unfair trade practices in the production of chocolate, especially in Africa. How does this feature in their product design? How do they basically showcase this in their product design? How do they showcase the inequity in their product design?
Okay, so the brand is called Tony Choco Lonely, and they have somehow in their brand design highlighted the inequities that come from chocolate production, especially exploitation of children and things like that.
There's a lot of child exploitation and slavery in the chocolate industry, and that is they literally, the guy who started it was initially, I think, a journalist who was trying to spotlight it, and I don't think he got enough traction. So he's like, you know what, I'm just going to start my own brand. It's a Dutch chocolate manufacturer, by the way. I said Europe, it's Dutch specifically.
First thing that comes to mind is when you say inequities, imbalance. So do they have like scales or something on their branding? No, but that would make it too easy for you.
No, nothing like that. Not that.
The other thought would be they have like a trapezoid design with one side like wider, because when you're talking about inequity, one side is obviously having more power than the other. It's sort of like a rectangular Swiss chocolate kind of thing. They have like a trapezoid. One side is bigger and one side is smaller or something like that.
Solid guess. Firstly, I'll just clarify. It is a regular rectangular chocolate bar like you would see any other brand. It is a little thicker than usual, but that's not the part of the design that you have to focus on. I just love the chocolate. Sorry, I'm a big fan. Please go buy it. I think when order it online, it's a little more expensive than any other these branded chocolates, which in general are also a little expensive. But this one is pretty expensive. However, worth the taste, and also if you want to be ethical in your purchase. Sorry, coming back to this. It is rectangular in shape, but you are warmer in your guess.
So it's something to do with the chocolate bar itself.
Very, very well deduced.
But you said it's still the same rectangle, right?
Yes.
Is it like they have like very depressing chocolate? So when you make chocolate, you put it and you pour chocolate into these forms.
Mold, yeah.
Yeah, the mold. So the molds. So does this mold have like a design on it, which is like showing children working on a slavery or slave, something like that, like a motif on the chocolate? Is like a very elaborately designed motif chocolate.
You have, if possible, gotten warmer without getting the right answer. It is a little less on the nose, I would say. A little less literal in its depiction. But you're warmer, the mold part of it should lead you there.
Is it a non-tempered chocolate? Like it's very brittle. Is that the thing? Like it breaks apart very quickly into like million different pieces or something?
I will object to any sort of slander about Tony's. It's a great brand. The chocolate is great. It breaks and melts and tastes exactly as good chocolate should. So none of those things. It has to do with design. I think you're thinking more along the product itself. The product itself is whatever. It's regular chocolate. I just think of design specifically. You're very close. Mold is literally almost there. You're like 99%.
Is it intended to, like, I'm still coming back to, because you're saying inequity. So inequity means something unequal has to happen. So is it designed to break apart in a different fashion? Oh, is it like just a flat bar? Flat bar would break unequally.
You're just like rotating round and round near the answer. I'm tempted to say that you have gotten it. You want to give it one last try? Okay, I'll just highlight the things that you have said, which are basically so close to the answer. Okay. It is inequity. It is the chocolate bar itself. It is the fact that, yes, it has to break apart unequally, unlike like a regular chocolate bar. And it's not a plain bar. Yes, you're right. If it was a plain bar, it would break apart unequally. But no, this is not a plain bar.
Okay, so then it has to break apart unequally, but it's not plain, which means that the grooves in chocolate have to be placed off balance.
You can't. I won't torture you anymore. Yes,
Okay.
you're absolutely right. Like a regular chocolate bar, if you picture it right now, all of us have seen it, all of us have probably eaten it, is a rectangular bar, and then there are smaller rectangles inside of it, right? Like there'll be like whatever, a 3x6 in a dairy milk or whatever, different ratios to the smaller rectangles inside the big rectangular bar itself. In this, the blocks or whatever, the smaller rectangles, as they should be equally spaced, they are not equal. They're of different sizes, and some of them are not even rectangles. So they're just like random shapes that are there, and it basically shows the fact that there is inequity in the whole supply chain of chocolate production. And at some part of the bar, it actually shows the, if I'm not wrong, the sub-Saharan African countries where most of the chocolate production is done. So 4 of those blocks kind of look like those countries as well. So it's highlighting the whole where it comes from and how there is inequity attached to it. I asked you design, but even the name technically harkens to the whole problem, because like I said, the person who founded it, Thjon van de Kuken, is a Dutch guy, was a television producer and a journalist, and his initial attempts were to actually make documentaries or do investigative journalism to try to highlight the problem, and he was so unsuccessful in it. For years he kept trying, and it did not gain any sort of traction, any sort of platform for people to focus on. So he decided to start it, and Thjon, I think that's how it's spelled, Teun, Thjon, which gives, of course, Tony, when you anglicize it, I suppose. And the Choco Lonely part of it is because he thought he was the only one in the industry who cared about this slavery part. So he was like, I'm Choco Lonely, only one trying to fix it. They have had an incredible brand image. In fact, when he started it off, apparently within the first 2 days, he sold 20,000 bars. It's almost unheard of for a chocolate brand. Like all the brands otherwise, are either taken over by bigger companies and whatnot. So it's all the conglomerates who own it, like it's your Nestle or it's your
Lindt, Cadbury, Hershey's, Mars.
The Hershey's, Cadbury, all of these are the big ones, and they own all of them, and they've been around for like almost a century, all of these. Tony's started in the 21st century, so it's a pretty upstart thing. If I'm not wrong, recently some big conglomerate has taken over, I'm not quite sure. And apparently there have been reports of how that quality control has dropped a little since then. So capitalism sucks.
Okay, so I have a couple of things to point out to this. So first, you said it's a good chocolate bar. I wanted to put this in between, but I wanted to stop the flow. So when you say it's a good chocolate bar, you mean it's everything a Hershey's isn't.
Okay, I don't know why we are crapping on Hershey's.
No, I'm serious. Hershey's makes some of the most garbage chocolate I've ever had. No offense to whoever runs Hershey's, but seriously, that's one thing. Second thing, Tony Choco Lonely is definitely not for me, because
why?
My OCD would be so triggered that I had to break this into like, I would just go mad eating a bar of chocolate.
I think the taste might make it worth it for you, so I would encourage you to try. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else in your family loves it, buy it for them and then take a small piece of it, just so you're not.
Because I have a very young kid and we restrict his sugar intake, so not many chocolates lying around. I also find it quite ironic, or maybe irony isn't the right word, that these companies come from horrible colonial lineage, history, that most of these these plantations and most of these crops and things and everything and all these practices were set in place by these colonial powers, and now they're the ones leading the charge and pointing fingers, and I find that a little holier than thou, but at least on the flip side they are trying to make a difference, so then we can do it that way.
I would in fact say that would be better than ignoring it, because a lot of these other companies completely ignore the fact that they are basically hand in glove with child slavery and child exploitation. And as consumers, I think we also should take account of that. So if you're going to buy chocolate, try to. It's expensive, so of course it's not for everybody, but if you can afford it, try to buy more ethically sourced. There are also a bunch of great chocolate companies that have come up in India. So I would encourage everybody to go try those out. If I'm not, oh my God, I'm completely forgetting. At some point, maybe I'll remember it. There's a brand which is from Kerala. So maybe you have seen it in stores near you. And these Indian brands have done some very good packaging. Like all the Indian brands, whenever I see it, it's just beautiful packaging. So check those out. Check out Indian brands, especially if you're in Delhi and Bombay. You'll get a bunch of these at a nice grocery store or a nice fancy, Whole Foods kind of place. So yeah, check those out.
When we do buy some chocolate, my wife prefers a lot of dark chocolate. So we do end up buying Amul a lot of the time. Amul's dark chocolates are pretty good considering the price.
No, yeah, for the price point, fantastic. If you're not looking to splurge too much. I am gonna say something which will get me as much hatred as the Mandrake question. By the way, people are still commenting on it, saying that how does Aditya not know? Because I'm gonna say something. I love dark chocolate. I actually really like white chocolate, and I've been judged so hard for this because people are like, white chocolate is not even chocolate. I know.
Exactly.
But listen, I have a childhood love for Milky Bar, and I
hated Milky Bar.
I had not eaten it for so many years when I was not in India, and I came back and I was like, oh, it's still around, and I ate it, and I was like, this is just nostalgia. I still love it, and I'll eat a Milky Bar any day of the week. So if you listen to the podcast and you like our work, and if you ever see me at a trivia thing, please buy me a Milky Bar.
Oh God. You see, this is the dichotomy of Aditya. On one hand, he'll talk about these exorbitantly priced capitalist liberal chocolate brands like Tony Chocolate only. And on the other hand, he has not even chocolate. It's this kind of white crystallized sugar with some hint of milk solids in it. And that's like what, for 5 rupees, 10 rupees used to get? This is the dichotomy. It's like
beautiful. You should see. I'm catering to everybody. Okay, listen.
You're a walking, talking spectrum from Milky Bar all the way to Tony Chocolate only.
Also, shout out to Anish, my friend who does improv with me, and he's the one who listens regularly to the episode. So if you're listening to this, Anish, thank you. He came to me and he's like, I have trivia for you. And he handed me this piece of trivia. And surprisingly, nice. I had eaten Tony's before he told me this, and I had not realized, like I'd seen the shape and I was like, oh, interesting, but I didn't clock it. Beautiful thing about trivia. Like there's so much to be found everywhere you look. So yeah.
See, I am of the thought that design should have a function. And very good design doesn't need to be explained. So by doing this, how many people actually understand that this is what they mean? It'll just trigger most people's OCD and be like, what is this? Oh, this is just a quirky design. Unless somebody kind of explains it to you, you don't get it. So how successful is that design? It's a philosophical question. Food for thought.
Valid point. Food for thought. Chocolate for thought. I guess we'll find out in a few decades if it has made enough of an impact. If child slavery is hopefully abolished by then.
Moving to a field which we don't usually talk about or ask questions about. X, widely regarded as the GOAT, once told interviewer Ray Martin that he saw his own style in Y. During the 1996 interview, he mentioned being struck by Y's technique and asked his wife to watch Y on television, noting the similarities between the two, that is between X and Y. However, 15 years later, a biomechanical study conducted by Tony Schillinglaw contested this comparison, arguing that the two were technically very different. The study, this is the controversial part, this study identified a less expected person, Z, as the player whose movements most closely matched X's style. So I want you to identify X, Y, and Z. X and Y, I'm fairly sure you'll get quickly. Z might be a little...
Because I have a tendency to miss important points in the question. I don't think you mentioned the sport.
No.
Okay. Two people come to mind, two pairs rather come to mind. The first is Don Bradman and Sachin. Is that...
Very good.
Okay, fine. Because the other one is going to go more topical with football and say something like Maradona said it or something.
No. So this is, X is Sir Donald Don Bradman and Y is Sachin Tendulkar. Even Bradman thought that Sachin's technique resembled his own. But a biomechanical study conducted years later found that Don Bradman's style was actually very close to the style of another batsman.
Oh, okay. I thought Sachin's style is close. Okay, Don Bradman's style is close to another, perhaps more contemporary batsman. Got it.
Yes. And this, by the way, let me just clarify this. This, I don't think you'll even be able to put this on Instagram, but this is going to be a very controversial one. I don't support this. This is not my finding. Okay, so
you
leave
have
the
blown up our Instagram. You have blown up our Instagram with Gandhi's affair, and this is where you draw the line.
Oh, trust me, this is way more controversial.
Okay, I'm gonna guess. Just because you said controversial, now I'm thinking. Initially, I was gonna say some Indian player, but you said controversial, so I'm like, oh, is it a Pakistani player? Because that's where the controversy lies. And you also mentioned like the late 90s, this person was active, potentially early 2000s.
The study was done in the 2010s.
But I mean, that could be for an older batsman. So,
yes.
because I have no clue right now directly, so let me try to guess at least the broader things. Is it an Indian batsman or should I be looking outside India?
It's not an Indian batsman.
Then controversy makes me think Pakistan, maybe Australia. I don't think any other country would be controversial. Pakistan, man, my knowledge of Pakistani batsmen especially is not that good. But that time I think Inzamam was around. So Inzamam ul Haq?
Yes, it is Inzamam ul Haq. Okay, now again, like I said, before you say anything and whoever's listening, don't hate me, listen to the explanation. I made a very long explanation specifically for this purpose, okay? Now, for those who don't know, Sir Donald Bradman, he's considered widely as the greatest batsman who ever lived. His test average was 99.94. He gave one of his final interviews in 1996 to Australian television presenter Ray Martin. In what became known as Don Bradman 87 Not Out, the 87-year-old legend was asked which modern batsman reminded him most of himself. Bradman's answer was Sachin Tendulkar. He explained that watching Tendulkar play on television, he was struck by the similarity in their techniques, and he had asked his wife Jean to watch the Indian batsman, and she also confirmed that she saw the resemblance. This became a cherished narrative, especially in Indian cricket circles, the idea that Tendulkar was the modern embodiment of Bradman's genius. For over a decade, this comparison was accepted as gospel, still accepted as gospel by many quarters. Tendulkar is short in stature like Bradman, exquisite technique, a bewildering array of shots, and he seemed to be exactly the kind of player that Bradman would recognize. However, in 2011, Tony Shillinglaw, a former English first-class cricketer who had become a coach and technical analyst, challenged this conventional wisdom. He had conducted an extensive biomechanical analysis of Bradman's technique, working with scientists at Liverpool's John Moores University to recreate and analyze Bradman's strokes in detail. What he discovered was that Bradman and Tendulkar were fundamentally different players. According to Shillinglaw's study, Bradman used what he called a rotary method, a circular motion where he prepared to hit the ball with a distinctive rotational movement that became almost instinctual. Tendulkar was a textbook player, playing with more traditional technique. The only real similarity between them, Shillinglaw argued, was that both were exceptional at watching the ball and tracking it to the point of contact. He then wrote a book called Bradman Revisited, where he laid out his findings, and he made a controversial assertion. If anyone in modern cricket truly resembled Bradman in terms of playing style, it wasn't Tendulkar at all, it was Inzamam ul Haq. This was surprising for several reasons. Inzamam is a very different player. He's much, much bigger, 6'2", a big bull of a man, and he was not known for elegance or technical perfection. But Shillinglaw argued that Inzamam's batting movements were the closest he had ever seen to Bradman's distinctive rotary method. Now, this is Shillinglaw's study and his release. But I would say that Bradman himself thought that Tendulkar was the most similar in terms of technique. So I prefer to believe that it is Bradman's assertion which is true. And the fact that I'm Indian, which also kind of biases me. But
I think you're overselling the controversy of it. I'll tell you why. Because I think Inzi is not really one of those people that is hated by Indian cricket fans. Like, I think Shoaib Akhtar probably incited a lot more anger in Indian fans than Inzamam. Because Inzamam was firstly he was adorable. Like, you can't realize, he was cute to look at. I remember watching the last match, and again, I'm not a big cricket fan, so this is a memory that stuck with me because I think I just found him cute. He retired during the 2007 World Cup in a match against some team. In Pakistan, I guess that was the last match that they were going to play. They must have crashed out in one of the earlier stages. And there was a very tearful kind of a farewell that he was walking off and he was crying. And I think there was a sense of everybody liked Inzi. I think he just had a nice, likable vibe. So I don't know how many people would be like, oh, how dare you say Inzamam ul Haq. There are, I'm sure, a lot of Pakistani cricketers who rile up the Indian fans a lot.
Javed
Miandad, of course, yes. But I don't know if Inzamam is one of them. So it is controversial because you're taking away this iconic comparison between Don Bradman
I'm not taking away anything. It is this Tony Shillinglaw, first-class cricketer.
Vineet Nair lives in Kochi. Please go
Oh,
find
God.
him.
Don't.
Claims that Inzamam is more like, all right, no, I'm kidding. Sure, I don't know enough about cricket. There must be some logic to it, like you mentioned, the style and whatnot. Again, I feel like a little bit of a Bertie today. So I'm going to, before I go to my actual question, I'm going to riff off of your question very quickly.
Okay. Go ahead.
And this is a memory. So this is, I don't know if you can actually find it anywhere online. Vineet, are you aware of the radio stations that are popular across India? I'm assuming some of these are more region specific, but do you know of the popular radio stations in India? You know some of them?
Like Club FM, Red FM, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Okay, sure. You know some of these names, okay? So one of the bigger ones, one of the big names, used their frequency, the number that every FM has assigned, they used their frequency as a sort of I won't call it a marketing tactic, but like during the 2007 World Cup as a way to support the Indian team. So they were using their frequency ka number, the number of the frequency of the radio, FM radio station, as a way to kind of be like, oh, this number implies that India could win this World Cup. I think they were just trying to tie in their brand with the World Cup. And of course, India did not win 2007. India won 2011. In fact, I think they performed pretty terribly in 2007. I don't think they even reached the semis or anything. Regardless, this was something. So I'm curious if we can figure this out by trying to think of the popular ones, trying to think of a number that might make the World Cup connection for you.
So, major radio station used their frequency as a marketing technique to support India during the 2007 World Cup.
Perfectly phrased, yes.
I'm not sure. I can't think of any particular brand. Like, first of all, I don't listen to the radio. I'm Philistine that way.
Wow.
The thing is, see, when I drive, when I go anywhere, I tend to listen to music. I don't like the DJs in between kind of thing. I used to listen to radios and FM during my school days, but not so much nowadays. So my knowledge of the radio stations are quite poor. 94.5, 98.6, 104.5. I can't think of how.
None of the numbers you mentioned yet.
Okay. No, man, you'll have to. I don't think I can catch it.
I don't know if it is as popular in Kerala because it's more. I've only heard it in Hindi. Do you know Radio Mirchi?
Oh, yes, I've heard of Radio Mirchi.
Okay. Do you know what frequency?
Frequency of Radio Mirchi. 90.
Okay. Our listeners who are radio heads like me, say it with me. Radio Mirchi. 98.3 FM.
Okay. So, 98.3. Yeah.
So, what is the marketing thing over there? How did they market it, or how did they try to connect their brand to the World Cup?
I don't know. How do you get 98.3?
Don't think of the decimal. Don't think of the individual digits, or try to combine them in a different order, perhaps.
83, 983.
All right, I'll give it to you.
Which is the 83 World Cup.
83rd World Cup. 2007 was the 9th World Cup. So they were like, this 9th World Cup, let's recreate the 83 ka magic 98.3.
That's a little bit of a reach, frankly speaking.
I did not do it. I did not come up with it.
No. You, Aditya, you are supporting this.
Vineet, so far in this episode, you have said that you don't want to support chocolate brands which want to eradicate childhood slavery. You have said Inzamam ul Haq is better than Sachin Tendulkar. I'm just going to summarize it. And you have said
somebody makes
that
a clip
radio
out of this,
is
I'm
for
screwed.
And radio is for losers. These are three things that you have claimed. So you are to be blamed. Let me actually ask the question that I intended to ask. This was a very random throwback moment that I just had. And I don't even know if this will be existing anywhere online, so it'll be tough to verify, but I can swear that this was true. I remember going to my Sanskrit tuition and listening to 98.3 in 2007. And hearing this particular marketing tagline. Anyways, also moving to my next question, pretty easy segue because we're talking about India. So let's keep talking about India. In the context of India, I'm going to start very vague, but I think you will be able to crack it, the history nut that you are. In the context of India, I'm going to name three things. Tell me how these three things are linked to each other. Okay. In the Indian context, how is White House, Taj Mahal and Kumbhakarna related?
White House, Taj Mahal and Kumbhakarna. How are these related in the context of India? Indian history.
Indian history, as in by Indian history, I'm including like really modern history also.
Okay. I'm not sure about Kumbhakarna, but I think White House and Taj Mahal were code words for this thing, Pokhran too.
Oh my God. That quick? Seriously, that quick?
No, because the
wow.
reason I remember this is that there was a test message after the Pokhran test blast. I think the White House has collapsed, or the White House is something or other. That was one of the messages that they gave, to signal the success of the thing. So I found it quite ironic, considering the fact that we did it right under America's nose, and they had absolutely no clue what was going on.
We've spoken about the nuclear test, and yes, India being one of those countries. I think you only mentioned that every other country has kind of acquired it from somewhere else, stolen it, or through diplomatic ties. Of course, US came up with it, so giving US its credit. And India was the second one which came up with it pretty much entirely on its own. Quite the success story as far as nuclear energy and nuclear warfare is concerned, India has been. And I love the fact that our main testing, and you got it way too quickly. I had more fun to give, so I'm just gonna give it an explanation now. There were two people at least who were primarily associated with this. The first one is Rajagopal Chidambaram, who passed away not that long ago, eminent physicist, and he was one of the nuclear scientists who played a key role in the nuclear test in Pokhran in 1974, which was Pokhran 1, and in 1998, which was Pokhran 2. The other person, obviously, in the 1998 case is APJ Abdul Kalam. So these are the two people. Interestingly enough, because they were trying to obviously keep this very hush-hush, one of the places where they had one of the first meetings, these two men, apparently one of the first meetings, one of the more important meetings happened where they discussed a bunch of things, technical and otherwise, was at Dr. Chidambaram's daughter's wedding. So APJ Abdul Kalam had come as a guest. And our man, Dr. Chidambaram, went off with APJ Abdul Kalam into a room to discuss this. And apparently the guests were like, wait, where's the bride's father? So he mentioned this in an interview before he passed away. And he said that, they still managed to keep it secret enough that at the wedding, it was, I guess, a commotion enough that there was no way that they were going to be, that their conversation would have been overheard because they did it secretly, but in such a crowded space. So it happened there. There were a bunch of things that they kept secret undercover. I'm sure, Vineet, you're probably a better person to guide us to any books that we can read about this, because you probably have read some books about it, knowing you. So I'll leave that to you. But there are some fantastic pieces of, I guess you'll call this espionage? No, not espionage, I guess.
Not espionage, counter-surveillance, basically. You would call it counter-surveillance.
You're right. Counter-surveillance. In fact, failure of espionage on the US side, because they had their best satellites monitoring all the countries, seeing where nuclear tests are happening, and somehow they did not guess that India is doing it till it actually happened. Quite embarrassing for them. Now comes the part which was the question itself. At Pokhran, which is a very secluded space which they had used in 1974 and in 1998, for the fact that it's also a lot of sand dunes which can absorb the shock waves easily. There were these few reasons that Pokhran was chosen. It is apparently near Jaisalmer, if I'm not wrong, in Rajasthan. There were wells which were dug, 200-meter deep wells, to test out these bombs. And they obviously, things were given code names. The wells were given code names, and they wanted it to be unrelated enough. Sometimes you're just like, oh man, I wish I was a fly on the wall, because I would love to know where White House came from or where Taj Mahal came from. I'm sure, and there must have been an inside joke between some scientist or some engineer there. And this probably is not documented because this would have been secretive. So they won't document why they named it White House. It's just called White House. I would love to know someday. Maybe, hopefully we can find out. So the White House was where they tested the hydrogen bomb. The other bomb was tested in Taj Mahal, which was a fission bomb. Fission bomb would be the uranium bomb. Yeah.
I think it was plutonium.
Okay. Hydrogen bomb was tested in the White House. The fission bomb was tested in a well which is called Taj Mahal. And a skeleton bomb, which is, I think, kind of like a backup bomb that they were also testing, was tested in a well named Kumbhakarna. There were two other wells, NT1 and NT2. I don't know if they were given any code names specifically. They were kept for reserved for testing, which were also used apparently the next day. So these were the main tests, the 5 wells and how they were used for testing. And this was a very fantastic achievement on the part of the Indian, the military and the counter-surveillance only. What would the agency be?
It would be the Domestic Intelligence Agency. No, it wouldn't be RAW. RAW is, so this will be IB. This will come under probably the IB.
So military and whichever other agencies were involved, fantastic feather in the cap for them, because to do it under the nose of the United States of America and to call it White House, I like it.
You've actually forgotten to credit the the most important person who made sure that this happened. And it's a fantastic story, that this fellow was initially discredited and then he was given charge of this operation and then he came back and he did it successfully. John Abraham. I had you going there. I
was like, Homi Baba, I don't know who you're talking about.
Seriously, I think it was called Operation Shakti. And what they did was they knew the flight paths of the surveillance satellites that the US had. So they made sure that they know the windows at which point these satellites are over the test site. During those points, they would ensure that absolutely no work would go on. When the satellites passed and at night, they would do the job. And then once they did it, they would park the vehicles back in the exact same spot. They would comb over the sand, make sure that it was done. It's extreme secrecy. It was, to hoodwink the US intelligence apparatus is no mean feat.
It was. And the credit has to be given to John Abraham, of course, because, and it's so stupid, but let's just do it. Do you know what they were saying when John was hard at work at Pokhran? What was they saying, wait? What was the rallying call? Much like Gung Ho.
Gung Ho. Okay. No, I don't know. What was the rallying call?
It is a mixture of chocolate and hazelnut. It was Jean Douya.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Right back at you. You don't dad joke me out of this. I am not going to take that lying down. Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right, back to you.
Very nice. That was a very good question. I enjoyed that one. In Italy's Emilia-Romagna region, there is a regional bank called Credito Emiliano, better known as Credem. Since 1953, one of its divisions has been offering loans against a very unusual form of collateral. The bank charges an interest rate of around 3 to 5% along with a storage fee. The collateral is kept in specially controlled vaults and are checked at specific intervals to make sure that the quality is maintained. These loans run for up to 2 years, and if the borrower defaults, the bank simply sells the collateral. As of 2022, loans backed by this collateral reached 280 million euros total. So, what collateral is being used for these kind of unusual loans?
Parmigiano Reggiano.
Oh, that was way too quick. You visited Italy. I keep forgetting that you know Italiano. Okay.
I was actually in that area. I was like, oh my God, I need to try these. I went to so many restaurants, the Michelin starred ones, and begged them. And they were like, we are booked out in like months in advance. Get out of here. But I gathered trivia. I didn't manage to eat at any of the fancy restaurants, but I gathered enough trivia. So yes, I know Parmigiano Reggiano is the king of cheeses, as it is called.
Okay, great. So just for those who've not been to Italy, which is the majority of the audience listening to us. So the collateral that we are talking about is Parmigiano Reggiano or Parmesan cheese wheels. Credito Emiliano, headquartered in Reggio Emilia, has accepted Parmigiano Reggiano wheels as loan collateral since 1953 via its subsidiary Magazzini Generali del Tagliate or MGT. Loans cover 70 to 80% of the cheese's market value with 3 to 5% interest based on quality and a storage fee. MGT's climate-controlled vaults, 18 to 20 degrees centigrade with 80% humidity, house up to 44,000 wheels. Staff inspect, clean, turn, brush and then prick them every 45 days to maintain quality during the 18 to 36 month aging period. Loans last up to 2 years and defaults trigger the sale of the cheese to recover funds. In 2013, MGT held 430,000 wheels worth. As of 2024, the program continues. A Library of Congress post confirms loans at 70 to 80% value with expert inspections. I couldn't find figures for 2025-2026 tonnage, but it still goes on. Though there was, I think, a heist that happened in 2009. I wasn't able to get much information about it, but apparently there was a cheese heist in this bank.
Yeah, apparently the mafia do hit Parmigiano Reggiano pretty often because it's pretty valuable.
And very tasty.
Also, a random piece of trivia. I remember learning this in Italy. Parmigiano Reggiano is technically lactose free because of the long aging process. All the lactic acid has been broken down by the bacteria.
And I think it gets crystallizes as well, right? Crystallizes into something
along those lines. So if you're lactose intolerant, you still can safely consume it. I am not a medical professional, so please don't take this as medical advice. Please consult your doctor before you do any of it. But yeah, this is what I was told when I was in Italy. All right, fantastic. So we were going with the travel. So let's go to another place that I've traveled to. I really sometimes should stop doing these humble brags. Okay. We are going to the United States of America, and I'm going to ask you about a certain army explorer. He was an officer, he was an explorer, he was also a politician with some renown. His name was Major General John Charles Fremont. Major General John Charles Fremont was a United States Army officer, explorer, and politician. He was a senator from California and was the first Republican nominee for President of the United States and founder of the California Republican Party. For fans of American history, they would know that James Buchanan was one of the presidents of America. James Buchanan defeated John C. Fremont to become the president. So this is his political career. But the question focuses on his exploring career. In 1846, when the U.S. Army explorer Captain John C. Fremont came across this particular view, he remarked at how similar it was to something in Turkey. And inspired by the name that is given in Turkey, he gave it a similar name in the United States of America. This is something we know more popularly by a construction in the 20th century. Let me repeat that. In 1846, the Army explorer Captain John C. Fremont came across a view that he compared to something that was very popular in Turkey. Hence, he named this particular view after the Turkish name. This name would probably more famously be known by something that was constructed, that was made in the 20th century. What am I talking about?
So John C. Fremont was an explorer. He discovered a vista in 1846, which reminded him of some...
He came across something and the view inspired him to name it based off of something in Turkey because it reminded him of that thing in Turkey.
Okay, so reminded him of something in Turkey. So he named it after that thing in Turkey. And the name that we are looking for is quite closely related to a construction that happened in the 20th century.
That's how I think most of us would probably know it as. We won't know it as that specific thing that John Fremont looked at. We would know it as something from the 20th century.
So you'll have to give me some kind of clue here.
So let's go with the Turkish connection first, okay? The thing in Turkey, and I'm not giving you the name yet, the thing in Turkey is a geographical formation which is very historic because it led to a lot of political and economic, actually more importantly, development in Turkey, the various empires that have occupied that geography over the centuries. And this was a natural, sheltered sort of location, and it was highly prized throughout the Byzantine and Ottoman empires. So kind of your zone of history.
Okay, can you give me an idea as to any particular event or something that was related to this portion of Turkey?
Okay, well, I pulled up the information. I did not have this on my fingertips. So let me tell you what, take this as a pinch of salt, whoever is listening, because this is an AI overview, so might be some hallucination. There was the Kievan Rus siege in the 10th century. There was the Fourth Crusade in 1204. The fall of Constantinople also, there were things that happened here in April, May of 1453. There was a cosmopolitan resettlement post 1453. And since then there have been other similar occasions and similar occurrences there. So, of course, all of these things happened over a vast geography, but there were important things that happened here as well.
That doesn't particularly give me anything. Okay. Is it the same Greco or Greco-Roman name that it had in the Byzantine era? Are we looking for that same name?
So there is the English translation of that name.
The English translation of that name. Can you give me that name?
Like I said, the English translation is basically the same it's the same meaning as a Greek name. It had other names, of course, because again, Turkey, multiple cultures, so many people, so many languages. But the Greek name is what perhaps our American gentleman was harking to. Again, because the name is a little direct translation. It doesn't matter whether it was Greek or English, but I'll give you the Greek one just in case that helps you crack it. It is Kryosokeras. Kryosokeras is the English transliteration of the Greek name.
Kryosokeras.
Oh, sorry. If I was to break it down, it says Chrysos. So Chrysokeras.
Okay.
Chrysokeras. Not Cryosokeras, my bad. Chrysokeras.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Chrysokeras. Chrysokeras. Nah, I don't know enough Greek for this.
All right. Now let's try to attack it from a different way. The whole trivia, it started with America, this guy exploring stuff. I give you some hints about his political career also that could also lead you here. But let's focus on the other part of the question, which I mentioned that he named this particular thing after the Turkish thing. That name today is more popularly known across the world. You and I probably know it better as something that was made much after his discovery or whatever, his naming of this, after something that was made in the 20th century. So something made in the 20th century kind of took on that name and became very popular, and everybody knows it. It's iconic.
And where is this construction? Is it also in Turkey?
No. The construction is in the United States of America.
Oh, the construction is in this place.
The place where he saw it, there is a construction there, and that construction took on the name that he had given to the place. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry if that was not clear. Yeah.
Oh, okay. The Brooklyn Bridge was not the 20th century. That was the 19th century.
Okay. I had told you about his political career when he started. Do you remember a little bit about it?
John Buchanan defeated him. And he was a Republican.
Which state did I mention he was from? He was the founder of
California, the California Republican Party.
So think California.
Is this the Golden Gate Bridge?
This is the Golden Gate Bridge. Well done. Fantastic. Great job. Honestly, you did get it much quicker than I would have expected.
I was floundering in the dark for such a long time. I think we spent like 10 minutes on this already.
We'll edit it down. We'll make it really short and edit. Okay. So do you know the connection to Turkey?
No, I don't.
When I say Golden Horn, does that ring a bell?
There's a harbor by there, something. I don't know, the Golden Horn.
Fantastic.
Golden Horn
Yes,
harbor.
the Golden Horn is a very important strategic harbor. It is sheltered the way it is, and it's considered crucial to the history of that area, to the fact that trade and commerce happened through there. A lot of military operations. So when I said crusade, there were some badly barred ships from Venice which came there, and that's how they broke in and stuff like that. So all of these things happened at the Golden Horn. When our man, John C. Fremont, he saw this particular strait, he was like, oh, this reminds me of that Turkish estuary, and I'm going to name it the Golden Gate Strait. So that strait is called the Golden Gate. He named it as this will be the gateway to the riches that will flow in over here into California through this point, Golden Gate. And then when the bridge was made, it was called the Golden Gate Bridge. What's funny is because there's a gold rush in California that happened, a lot of people do assume that the Golden Gate, something has to do with the gold rush. Turns out the gold rush happened like a couple of years after the naming had already been done. So it had no connection to the gold rush. He just was calling it Golden Gate as a way of trade coming in. So he was hearkening back to the Turkish thing, which is Golden Horn. He called it Golden Gate Strait. And when the iconic bridge was constructed, it was called Golden Gate Bridge. That's the connection.
Okay, nice San Francisco question. And fans of Full House would definitely remember that. It showed the bridge, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I remember it from the movie Room. The Room. The very bad film. If you have not watched it, you must watch it. I think I must have mentioned this on the podcast at some point. Because it's a community affair, you have to go watch it together. And there are just so many stupid shots in that movie. The point where randomly they'll just show the cars passing through the Golden Gate Bridge, and everybody starts chanting, go, 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 and it will never show it go anywhere. It'll just cut to something else happening randomly. It's so much fun watching it with the crowd. So if you ever have a chance to go for a screening of The Room, please go for it and go shout. go as the shout. By the way, just random additional trivia. The color of the Golden Gate is considered obviously very iconic. And it's registered as International Orange.
Do you know why the color was orange instead of black or grey?
I didn't read it, but please go ahead.
Okay, so the thing is, the architect basically he ordered the construction of the bridge and all the parts came in. So the steel came in, which was coated from the factory with a primer, right? And this primer was this reddish orange color. The original plan was to actually have it, I think, black or gray or something like that. But then after the construction, when it came time for painting, this guy's like, this color looks so much better in the fog. So they kept it.
Just to add on to it, because I did read it just now. The US Navy or whoever was in charge of whatever, the Coastal Service or whatever must have been around at that point, they were insisting that it should be painted black and yellow. So just to be able to be visible from the distance. The whole point was that because there's a lot of fog and a lot of lack of visibility in that area, ships should be able to see it from a distance. And he insisted that red is actually better for that purpose also. As it turned out, he was right, because red is pretty striking against that imagery. If you've ever seen pictures, you can see how much it stands out. And yeah, exactly what you said. It was a happy mistake that the architect was then hell-bent on making sure that that's how it should look eventually. So Golden Gate Bridge, international orange, named after Golden Gate Strait, named after the Golden Horn in Turkey. I believe that was the last question, Vineet.
Yes, so now all that's remaining is the audience question, which I asked at the beginning of today's episode. And that question was, Chris Pine, Jessica Chastain, Dakota Fanning and Eva Mendes all started their acting career on which TV show?
Interesting.
When I say all started their acting career, their first acting credit was on this TV show. They would have done maybe commercials or music videos prior, but their first acting credit was on this TV show.
I'm guessing because none of these stars were like stars right out of the gate. So I'm assuming they worked up to their stardom, which means this could have been small roles.
And we've mentioned the show on this podcast, I think, a couple of times.
Ooh, interesting. I'm going to take a very wild guess. I'm going to say ER.
Oh, yeah, it is ER.
I'll tell you why. Because House has so many these random people coming in, and I was trying to place it in a medical show, because medical shows allow for so many guest stars. A lot of people, to come in.
Okay, so ER, again, one of my nostalgic shows, which I've mentioned. I love its creator, Michael Crichton, and I've mentioned the fact that he's made this show based on his experiences as a medical student. It also made George Clooney's career. Now, for those who may be thinking, oh, okay, it's a story, it went on for 15 seasons and it had a huge list of people who were either already famous or who became famous after all of that. I'm just going to give you a very, very abridged list. This is nowhere near the full list, but this is a very abridged list of some of the people who have appeared on guest roles or cameos or slight recurring roles on ER. Sally Fields, Stanley Tucci, Don Cheadle, Angela Bassett, Ewan McGregor, Lucy Liu, Kirsten Dunst, Shia LaBeouf, Eva Mendes, Chris Pine, Jessica Chastain, Dakota Fanning, Rooney Mara, Chadwick Boseman, Gabriel Union, Ray Liotta, Forrest Whitaker, James Woods, Alan Alda, Bob Newhart, Ernie Hudson, John Stamos, Mariska Hargitay, Kristen Davis, Nick Offerman, Josh Ratner, Kat Dennings, Stana Katic, Eric Stonestreet, Deborah Ann Wall, Aaron Paul, Josh Hutcherson, Ariel Winter, Linda Cardellini, Parminder Nagra, Maria Balo, Alex Kingston.
Wow. Okay. Very cool.
By the time it finished its run, it was the most Emmy-nominated primetime TV series in history, with 124 nominations and 23 Emmy wins. It won 23 Emmys. Now, only 2 shows have more Emmy nominations. Can you guess which those shows are?
2 shows which have Emmy nominations.
ER had around 124 Emmy nominations and 23 wins.
More wins than that.
No, I'm looking
SNL.
at nominations. Yes, SNL has had around 300 plus nominations and around 95 wins or something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Only one other show has more nominations than ER.
Can't be Grey's Anatomy.
It's not Grey's Anatomy.
Okay.
Go for the obvious answer.
MASH.
No. MASH never did that well in the Emmys, no.
Oh, interesting.
Only 8 seasons.
This show has only 8 seasons?
Only 8 seasons. See, that's the thing. When you look at SNL is, we are talking about so many hundreds of nominations, 300 plus nominations. That's since 1973 onwards. ER got these 124 nominations of over 15 years.
That's pretty impressive. I'm thinking of some prestige shows, or rather which are very highly lauded. I'm thinking Cheers.
Little more common.
Sopranos?
No. Sopranos is, I think, number 5 on the list with 112 nominations. Cheers is 4th on the list just behind
Oh.
ER, with 119
Close.
nominations.
Okay,
Number
not a bad
one
guess then.
is Saturday Night Live with 340 plus nominations. Number two has 160 nominations.
In 8 seasons, that's very insane. That's like 20 nominated on average per season. Wow.
On average per season, yes.
How recent is it? I'm thinking of the older shows.
Pretty
only.
recent. Pretty recent.
This is a recent show.
Mhm.
And not Sopranos. Breaking Bad didn't have 80 seasons also.
No.
Simpsons.
Oh, it's not The Simpsons. No.
What?
Nope.
Then what show is that? I know Friends and all did not get this many nominations.
No. Come on, man. Think of it. This was huge. There were watch parties for this.
Game of Thrones had 100 and what? How many nominations?
160 nominations. 160 nominations.
Oh, wow. I only got it because you said watch parties. Game of Thrones? It makes sense now that you say it, but wow, that's crazy. Okay.
One last piece of additional trivia. Do you know the show which has the most number of nominations without a win? Without a single win? I'll give you the number. 53. 53 nominations without a single win.
Without a win?
Yeah.
So interesting.
And it's one of your favorite shows.
House?
No, not House.
One of my favorite shows. I need a hint.
You just mentioned its prequel series. No, this is not a prequel series. It's
Better Call Saul?
Yes.
Oh my! It did not. Oh yes, I remember this. It did not win. That's truly a travesty. It's a great show. It deserves at least a few Emmys. It deserved. Yeah, fair. I remember this. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to do one last Bertie, and I'm going to, because you asked this, I'm going to do a similar question.
Okay.
Tell me which show did these people? I don't know if they were launched here, but this is kind of like one of their very early claim to fame. Okay. And the list should be very indicative of what the show is. Guy Pearce, Kylie Minogue, Margot Robbie, Russell Crowe.
Neighbors.
Very nicely done. Very nicely done. Chris Hemsworth, Liam Hemsworth. And again, I don't know if that was their first ever show, but they all kind of got that big breaks on this show. Neighbours, it is an Australian TV soap opera that aired from 1985 to 2025. 40 years, literally last year it has stopped. So, a very long running Australian show. And it launched the careers of all of these very famous Australian actors, which is why the list was very Australia specific. Okay, cool, great. That was my random Bertie moment. All right.
Okay, one more. Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, I'm going to give you a list of actors who appeared in guest appearances and cameos in a particular show. You have to tell me the show.
Okay.
Jimmy Fallon, Tom Hanks, Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, Tom Hardy.
This could be Simpsons.
It's not The Simpsons.
Oh, okay, interesting.
This is okay, let me just say, I don't know if all of them appeared on Simpsons, but this is a live action show.
James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Tom Hardy, Tom Hanks have appeared in a live action show?
In a live action show. One of my favorite shows, which I've mentioned multiple times on this podcast. I've recommended at least 2 or 3 times. I can also give you an additional name, but that's technically not a guest or a cameo thing because that person was there for, I think, 1.5 full episodes. So that would be David Schwimmer.
Band of Brothers.
Yes. There's no surprise that I am a World War II buff. And it is the definitive World War II show, trust me.
Yeah.
It's far superior to its successor, The Pacific.
I think it shows up a lot on Reddit lists of like shows that are absolutely great that you have not heard of.
The reason is that people don't get exposure, at least in India, much. I don't think it's on any of the majors. It used to be, I think, on Disney Hotstar or whatever, but I don't know if it's still there anymore. Okay, so coming back to our SMAC or social media audience question. Aditya, what's the social media audience question number 144?
All right. Okay. So for this episode, SMAC 144, I'm going to show you a picture from the city of Prague. It is a picture, it's a bust of a person that has been given a very honorable position over there. And I'm going to blur out the features of the face. And of course, as usual, your job is to tell us who is this a bust of, who is being honored here in a random street of Prague. In fact, there's a street nearby which is named after this person as well. So figure it out. Let us know if you have been to Prague. If you have traveled there, you can do a flex as well in the comments and tell us if that's the case. And let us know what the answer is. The person to answer it first will get a shout out in our next episode, which is episode 145, which we have a fantastic guest for. Can't wait for that episode to reach you guys. It's going to be a fun one.
Okay, so now it's time for the pop culture recommendations. Aditya, what are yours?
Recently, I've been watching a lot of comfort films. So I might have mentioned this in the past, but I'm just going to mention them all over again. I wanted to watch something a little emotional and also uplifting, but also makes you think and cry and feel.
Do not say Munna Bhai.
No, I'm going to go more Hollywood with this. The Before trilogy, I'm pretty sure I must have mentioned it multiple times.
Yes.
But I'm going to just do it again. The Before trilogy, fantastic. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, probably mentioned it, really mentioning it again. La La Land, probably mentioning it again. About Time, I don't know if I've mentioned that in the past, but I really like it.
No.
So check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Blue Valentine, a nice film that I think could deserve a little bit more love. And the one thing that is on my list that I think a lot of people would consider cheesy and doesn't belong in the same category as the rest, but I don't know, I watched it at a time where I was young and I think I was falling in love for the first time, so it stuck with me. It's P.S. I Love You. P.S. I Love You, which is very cheesy, very cheesy.
Very cheesy.
Solid performance because Hilary Swank, I mean, she's such a good actor. She does a great job portraying the grief in the film, and not a spoiler, it is pretty much in the beginning part of it. And it's based on the novel by same name by Cecilia Ahern. So yeah, P.S. I Love You. Check it out on my recommendation. The rest of them are very popular, probably mentioned in the past. Go check those out as well. If you're in the mood to watch something a little emotional, romantic drama, all these films should satisfy that urge.
Okay, great. I'm basically, as we determined in our few previous episodes, I am getting to that time in my life where I'm starting to feel my age. And I've been going back to things from the 90s to act as kind of comfort food. So I'm also been seeking out comfort in that way. And Netflix came to my rescue by delivering a show which I have not watched in, I think, 15, 16 years. Since the days when in college we used to raise the black flag. If you know, you know. So ER is now available on Netflix, all 15 seasons in high definition.
Oh, wow.
The first 8 seasons are some of the best television ever. The rest is still great compared to some of the shit that we get today, but it's subpar compared to the original 5th to 8th season. So definitely please go watch ER. And to also add to Aditya's list, some of my comfort films, especially rom-coms from the 90s. There's one from the 2000s which I kind of rewatch, I don't know, once every couple of years. It's Crazy Stupid Love, Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling. It has one of the best twists which I was not expecting. So Crazy Stupid Love, What Women Want, Mel Gibson when he was not cancelled. Beautiful movie. I would also recommend You've Got Mail, Nora Ephron's movie with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. The definitive comfort, very, very cozy rom-com that you can watch. New York is a character in itself in that movie. So definitely that's one. And also the Lethal Weapon trilogy, which...
Love it. Perfect placement.
No, because I still say that Lethal Weapon is a romantic comedy in the sense like there is a bromance going on between Danny Glover and Mel Gibson.
Yeah, fair.
It's got a lot of comedy and at the same time, a killer soundtrack by Eric Clapton. There are 2 separate soundtracks. One is a very string-based and the other is a saxophone-based soundtrack. One for each of the characters, but melded into the movie so beautifully that you don't tend to notice it. Obviously, nice. Lethal Weapon 1 and 2 are great. 3, not so much. 4, but I would still say it's one of the best series ever. So these are my recommendations. And that's all the time we have for this week's episode. Thank you all for listening in. Hope you enjoyed the show and learned something new. If you'd like to reach out to us, please do so on our Instagram profile at Are You Quizzing Me, or on our Reddit page, which is r/Are You Quizzing Me, or at our Gmail, again, creatively titled areyouquizzingme@gmail.com. If you want questions asked on the show, please share them with us with the name of the Quizmaster in the subject line on our email. Please like, share, and subscribe on whichever platform you're listening to us or seeing us on. And we'll be back next week with a surprise guest. We're not going to tell you who that is. So stay tuned and you do the rest.
See you guys next week. Man, we really should get Tony Chocolonely to sponsor this episode.